welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to talk about a wonderful last gasp of summer thing you can do with your kids or as a grown-up. The Virginia Air and Space Center has a whole lot going on this summer, and Bob Griesmer is here to tell us about it. Welcome, Bob.
Well, good morning, Robin. It's always great to be with you.
You know, it is always wonderful to visit the Air and Space Center, and any time of year, you guys have the great permanent exhibits and a traveling exhibit, but you're doing some extra stuff this summer.
You know, that's actually correct. I mean, when the families have vacation time and the kids are out of school, I think it's a fair statement to say that we have the biggest summer yet. And we've gone out of our way to continue the strategy of having lots of scientific experiments going out on the floor. We have brought in and acquired a new puzzle maze that's in our courtyard. We've decorated it.
Gosh,
with,
that's kind of an all-ages thing too, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's part of the overall strategy so that the 37-year-old parent can play in the same intellectual sandbox with their 14-year-old daughter and their 7-year-old son. You know, this is sort of a sidebar, but the research is pretty profound and conclusive that when we as adults bring our children to spaces like this, we subordinate our own enjoyment to that of the children.
Oh, I always did, yeah.
And when you think about it, why should that be necessary? I mean,
children's museums are the most fun places, and science museums, it's hands-on. We should get to play too.
That's right. So it's up to us to develop exhibits that engage you at your level and the different levels of your children. So it's part of the overall strategy. We have a great exhibit that actually is very effective at this, which is called Be an Astronaut. And so it's really based around gaming. And gaming is a real good thing because, as you know, you can set the levels of games in gaming. You can set the levels at which you want to operate. So you have beginning, medium, and hard. And this particular exhibit enables you to figure out how to launch a rocket to escape Earth's gravity, to take that rocket and put it into a successful orbit, to travel to the moon and land on the moon. Or maybe the next game that you want to play is to land and travel to Mars, or drive a rover on Mars. And we can even take you to Jupiter and then to the asteroid belt, and we can have you land your spacecraft on an asteroid.
So you're looking at things that NASA has done, things that NASA is doing now, and things that are futuristic that we're going to get to someday.
Yes, and that's what we're all about. As the NASA Langley Visitor Center, we celebrate the magnificent history of NASA Langley. We celebrate what they're doing now, and we position ourselves to tell the country and our community about the great things that are coming down the tunnel, down the pike, about what NASA is all about in terms of getting us to Mars, about intercepting asteroids, about addressing issues of climate change with the satellites that they have that evaluate the polar caps and deforestation in the tropical rainforest. All these magnificent things, not to mention all the great things they do to enable us to fly safely on commercial aircraft. So, I mean, we all fly today with comfort in mind about commercial aircrafts because of all of the avionic research that has taken place here right in our own backyard.
Well, and I think, you know, for a lot of moms and kids, and maybe dads too, you think of science sometimes as a scare. You know, I'm a liberal arts graduate.
Yeah.
I know a lot about history and English and social studies, all those things, but science has always intimidated me a little bit. But when you learn in a fun way, where everyone is kind of learning at that experiential level, it doesn't feel like education. You learn stuff on the side while you're having fun.
Well, it's all about enabling people to become problem solvers. I mean, if our children are going to be...
Science is, right?
And, well, it's life in today. If you are unable to identify what the proper questions are, find the proper solutions, you're not going to be able to find the best paying jobs. So, so STEM-related issues, science, technology, engineering, math, is really designed in that manner to help us teach our children to become lifelong learners and problem solvers.
Because you have to start with questioning. What is a problem? You have to have curiosity. And what can I do? And then you learn to solve it. But I'm distracting you. You were talking about some of your special summer events, and we got as far as the maze. and be an astronaut. What else do you guys have going on this summer? People need to go now before school starts.
Well, we have a magnificent IMAX film called Hurricane 3D, and this is where the breath of the hot air off of the deserts of Africa just come off to the South Atlantic Ocean and become a Category 3 or a Category 4 hurricane hitting Haiti or the Dominican Republic and then coming up to New Orleans. Now, it's a composite of all different types of hurricanes over many years, but it's really a great science film, but it drags you right into the subject matter, very enjoyable. As everyone knows, the typical IMAX film is only 35 minutes long.
Great for kids with a shorter attention
And it's on
span.
that 6-story by 8-story screen with 10,000 watts of surround
you feel
sound.
like you're inside.
The thunder and the magnificence of a hurricane. Hurricanes are just made for the IMAX format, don't you think?
We would rather experience them on the screen and not here
Yes.
in real life.
Yes, so at this time of the year, we think about those things. And we still have National Parks Adventure. It's only one time a day. It probably one. If everybody, if anybody's been thinking about ever starting to plan trips for visiting our national parks, I think this is the kind of film
good. You
that
get a
will.
taste of the different parks.
Yeah, and I say, well, without equivocation, it's probably one of the top 5 films in the IMAX format ever made in the documentary format. It is that good. Narrated by Robert Redford, produced and directed by Greg McGilvery.
And it's on the occasion of their 100th anniversary too, right? Or some kind of anniversary.
National Parks Adventure has celebrated 100 years. NASA Langley is celebrating 100 years this year. This week was their actual birthday. The Langley Air Force is 100 years old, and the United States Naval Station here in Norfolk is
I
100
that
years.
one.
I mean,
Yeah.
everything happened here in Hampton 100 years ago. I don't know what was in the water, but something was
know.
going on here.
That's right.
I bought a tiki bar, and it's got the grass hut, and it's a real tiki bar, and we dressed up our round tables in the courtyard near the maze, which I'll get to in a minute. This gaming maze, which we've acquired. The kids can go. You can go out, hopefully when we get to the license, you'll be able to have a nice cold beer and let the kids get lost in the maze.
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice way to enjoy the afternoon. Another part of letting the 37-year-old enjoy themselves and let the kids have their fun. So so overall, I mean, we're trying to overcome, this perception that I think, everyone in Hampton Roads has is perhaps that I've been to the Virginia Air and Space Center, and I've done that. And I'm here to assure everyone today that that is no longer the case. You're going to come back time and time again, and in the future we will continue to evolve so that we bring exciting IMAX films, new exhibits, and engaging types of experiences that really want you and your family to return.
That sounds wonderful. Okay, well, we should probably close, but Bob, do you have anything else to add? Let's talk about what a value the museum is. And, the one-day ticket is how much?
Adult is $18, and you're going to embarrass me because I don't know all the different price
That's
levels,
fine, but ballpark,
there are military
it is.
prices and there's prices for children, and we have group sales for those people who run
reunions
organizations or have large groups of 10 or more. All of that, but it is a great value because not only do you get the experience, we've changed that business model so that included in that price is the IMAX. So you get a free IMAX, whether you have the time to do it or not, it's your choice. But I think the price value proposition for your money is great. And I will say that when anyone comes, if they live in this area, they should consider becoming a member.
That's what I was going to say. For those repeat visits, it's a great deal.
We are a member of the Association of Science and Technology Centers. And so if you become a member, a family membership, a basic membership is about $125. And a family of 4, when you do the math, it's about 1.82 times. You come and then you're there back to see IMAX, as many as you want, all free. But equally important, as a member of our organization, there are over 300 science centers across the country. If you have relatives in San Diego and you want to go to the Rubin Fleet Space Center in Bilbao Park, then you're going to be able to do that and walk in the door and pay nothing.
It is a great deal. I have done
that. Will cost you $90 right
Yeah.
there to get into that
Oh.
institution. So I mean, there's great value for your money by becoming a member. And I think if it's just a day event, or if you're a tourist in the area and you happen to be watching this program, then you know, especially if it's getting cloudy and threatening on the beach, pack the kids up. We've got air conditioning. It's a wonderful way to enjoy the day with your kids on your vacation while you're spending some time in the beautiful and visiting the beautiful tourist attractions that we have in this area.
Well, you know, when you think about it, people come here to see that, and it's in our backyard, and sometimes because we know, oh, I could always go, we don't always go.
No.
And it might sound a little pricey for people, but when you compare it to staying in a hotel and going to a museum in another city, it is a huge value.
That's right. And well, you know, think of all the people in New York who have never been, that live in New York all their lives and have never visited the Statue of Liberty. So I think that's a very true observation about how local, how we sometimes view this. But you know, in terms of things to do around here, we know in Hampton, between Yorktown and Jamestown, and we have Busch Gardens, and we have Colonial Williamsburg, and we have the Mariners Museum, which is a gem, the Living Museum here in Newport News, and
the History Museum in Hampton.
The History Museum in Hampton, just around the corner from us.
HU's museum is amazing. It's
Which
not
one?
Hampton University's art museum.
You know, I have not been there on the
Gorgeous.
campus.
Absolutely
Really
amazing.
So we just recently, and we live out in Fort Monroe, but we just recently went to the Casement Museum out at Fort Monroe.
Wonderful, right?
Magnificent
and that's cool
museum.
for kids too, because you are physically experiencing the space.
So well executed too,
yeah.
and I mean it's a very traditional setting where there are artifacts and graphic panels to describe it, but the stories are compelling at Fort Monroe. So there's
Wonderful
a lot to do
here.
in Hampton Roads, isn't there?
Right.
So we're only one part of that, but we think we're a special part of it because you're right. The legacy of NASA Langley celebrating its 100 years is something that we all know the level of community pride that we have of having those original 7 astronauts, those Gemini astronauts running around. Everyone thinks they were running around in Kennedy and Cape Canaveral in their Corvettes, and I'm sure they drove down there and did that.
Right.
But they were living here.
They were living here. They were going
shopping,
to church. They
going
were
to church, going to the supermarkets. All of those heroes of American lived.
Many of them in Hampton, some of them in other
Hampton.
cities, but
That's
here
right.
in Hampton.
But they lived and worked at the Langley Research Center and trained at the research. Neil Armstrong trained right here on that gantry crane that I hope they never take down to land on the moon with wires. And we have at our place the original training lunar module that Neil Armstrong and everyone else that went to the moon trained on. So we have great things. We have moon rock. We have our solarium where you can come face to the sun and hear its heartbeat. And we have a juried art show. I forgot that.
Oh, wow.
You know, I'm sure you're familiar. I'm maybe taking too much time, but the fact is that there is a movement called STEAM, where you insert the arts into that, and we now have an art show on space and aviation, which everyone should come to see. It's magnificent.
That sounds wonderful.
And we should close on the art.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me again.
I hope you will take the time this summer, this month in August, to really appreciate the Air and Space Center. It is hot and muggy outside. They have air conditioning, which is a great thing. If people come to town, if you can take a staycation, it is a great way to interact with your kids, interact with science on your own level. Bring visiting aunts, uncles, cousins, grandchildren. Wonderful thing to do, and right next to the carousel, so stop by there while you're at the Air and Space Center. Thanks for watching.